The future is always uncertain. We cannot predict it, but sometimes we get a pretty good idea what's coming, or at least we can make predictions about what could happen. We're going to be talking about potential policy changes over the next 2 to 5 years and what it could mean for EVs and for the future of American manufacturing at large. I got Randy Kirk with me. He's going to have a little chat, and I should mention to you guys that I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. So, Randy, there's always uncertainty on the political landscape. You never know who's going to win which elections. Sometimes you have a pretty good idea. Sometimes that idea is mistaken. But it doesn't always matter who's in one particular branch of the legislature. You can have your choice in one and not in the others, and it can cause issues. It can cause gridlock. If the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act,
yes,
is scaled back or altered, we could see some changes that would be detrimental for the green transition, but some of them may go even farther. What would you say? I mean, there are three big pieces in this legislation that affect EV adoption. Do you know what the big ones are?
Well, I don't know which three you're talking about. I think that I would be talking about the actual manufacture of the batteries in the United States. So you
Correct.
Get $35 a kilowatt hour for that. And then you've got the taking of that battery, putting it into some kind of a pack that can be into an EV. It can be into a energy storage system of some kind, like a Powerwall or a Megapack. You get $10 a kilowatt hour for doing that. And then if you sell the vehicle, if it's a BEV, or actually BEV or a hybrid, you sell that vehicle, the consumer gets a $7,500 roughly. Sometimes it's $3,750. And then also there's a used car version of that at $4,000, depending on all kinds of other things that might be going on in terms of your tax bracket and whatnot. So you have those, all of those would be impacted if the IRA were to be dialed back or eliminated by some future Congress.
So what we've got, I've seen a lot of people say, with or without the $7,500 credit, Tesla will be just fine. And I would argue Tesla will be just fine. Tesla will be just fine either way, no matter what, because they are the leader in many respects, certainly in the US, also around the world.
Yes.
The other manufacturers I have more serious concerns for, and I've seen a number of angry comments on YouTube say, yes, but maybe we shouldn't be rushing into electric vehicles. It's happening around the world. If GM and Ford wish to become medium-sized players in just one market, that's a great solution for them. Just keep building dyno burners and game the legislation for as long as they can. But even if it's gone, even if the IRA is gone, that doesn't tell us what's going to happen in the next 4 years or the 4 years after that and beyond. It's going to, the shift is underway. If you want to play on the global scale, you have to do that. The battery one that you raised, to me, is kind of a bigger one. A number of companies announced plans to build battery factories, and most of those companies have announced plans to scale back their US battery ambitions, and I believe that may be due to uncertainty about this source of funding. What say you?
I don't know that they're so concerned about the funding. I think they might have become concerned about the headlines. So you have all these headlines saying that the EV revolution has been stalled. Battery electric vehicles are no longer, de rigueur. They're not the hot topic anymore. And so if you are worried that because it takes a lot of batteries per car, and so you need a lot of factories to make those batteries. If all of a sudden you think there's going to be a lot less cars, maybe you cut back your plans. Even Panasonic right now has said our third factory is on hold, although their second factory and improving their first factory in Reno, both of those plans are still 100% go. I think they're also building a factory in Japan. So they still know that this battery business is going to be great in the future. But everybody seems to have taken a little bit of a step back, worried about what the production needs are really going to be. Now, on top of that, they could worry. These numbers are really pretty crazy. If Tesla merely gets to their 100 billion, their 100 gigawatt hours on their very first 4 lines, all they need to do is get that 100 gigawatt hours. The US government will basically be giving them a tax break, writing them a check, whatever it's going to look like, for $4.5 billion. The next year, if they go to 200, which is the plan, it's going to be 9 billion. If they scale up Reno for another 5 lines, it is going to be that 7 times 4,000. That's $30 billion. I think that at some point, the US Congress is going to say, we're not going to write a check to Tesla for $30 billion. Not going to happen. What do you think?
I think that is very reasonable. Your assumption is very reasonable, especially as it scales. When the $7,500 credit first came out, I thought that's too generous, especially with the very easy qualifications that we saw last year. This year, the qualifications have become more restrictive. The battery sourcing requirements have begun to step in more aggressively, and we see that a lot fewer cars qualify. One big objective is to get battery manufacturing back into the US.
Right.
And I don't care who's in office, that's a good thing to have. We would like to have a domestic battery supply so that we are not beholden to foreign interests who may love us today and less so tomorrow, or the inverse. We've got to hedge our bets and be secure on our own in a number of ways. And creating uncertainty like this is unfortunate. I don't fault these businesses for being cautious in the face of uncertainty. That's just good business. And I would add that if you are getting $35 per kilowatt and another $10 per kilowatt hour to build the battery cells and then the packs, China's already got, in the next 6 months, is expected to hit what, $56, $60 per kilowatt hour. If that was being made in the US, you're getting close to a free battery. And I don't mean free, I mean free to you.
Yes.
So that's perhaps too generous, but at the same time, 0 is, I believe, the absolutely wrong number.
So we have this interesting system in the United States where we have every 4 to 8 years, say sometimes 12 at the very most, you have a change of government and new people come in that have new ideas. And the energy part of the world has been impacted by this forever, but certainly no more than in the last, let's say, 15, 16, 20 years, where when one party's in, drill, 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 baby, and when the other party is in, stop the drilling, stop the project that's already underway. So you could, as you point out, it's a very understandable that energy companies will be sitting there going, now on the other side, the battery folks would be going, should I start this? Because when the other guys get in, maybe they're not going to want to spend this kind of money. I know that, an intelligent Congress is an oxymoron, but I would think that if the other guys get in again, the Republicans get in, and they really want to shut down all these energy opportunities, if you will, could you phase it out so that companies don't get into this horrible situation where they're just constantly being batted around? So 4,500 next year, 4,000 the next year, 3,500 the next year. I mean, $35. I mean, you know what I meant, right?
Yes, I agree that the all or nothing approach, the feast or famine, every 4 years for projects that take 3 to 5 to build is very dangerous. You're getting a lot of notifications.
So sorry.
Yeah, it makes it a hostile environment for businesses to attempt to do their work, and I think it's deeply unfair to them for us to say, come on, we really need you to do this and we're going to pay you. My bad. No, we're not. So hopefully it's okay to offer big incentives to get the ball rolling and then to reduce them over time. It's better when those reductions are clearly choreographed in advance, but I understand both sides of it. I can see. And the thing about some administrations being scaling back drilling, production remains at all-time highs. It always has. It's always been getting higher, regardless of who's in office. There are a lot more talking points about it than there is reality about it. And there have been people who I would consider very strong on fossil fuel, like Reagan, who was also very strong on environmental protection because he came from California and he could see what it was doing to the people that he represented as governor, and that was something he never forgot. There
Yeah,
are
you're looking at one. Okay, I'm a staunch conservative, but I live in California. I don't want smog. I don't want particulates. I want to solve that problem. I think that fossil fuels should be eliminated over time because they're, as Elon says, because there's probably a limitation to just exactly how much we can extract. Who knows what that limitation is? And there may be an issue, probably is some issue at least, with regard to putting that stuff in the air. For all of those reasons, better to get rid of it. On the same side, when it comes to batteries, all the people in my party who are anti electric cars and whatnot because they don't want to be forced into something, I would, if I was trying to convince the Republicans to come on board, I'd say just think of it as a national security issue. You cannot be behind on this battery issue. You cannot be behind on electrification of vehicles. You cannot be behind on electrification of the grid, the total grid and the distribution process that's possible through using electrification. You can't be behind because the countries that are ahead on that, they are going to bury you eventually economically.
Yeah. And it's security, it's national security. The last part of it that I wanted to address, which we talked about briefly in the introduction, is what will happen to our industry if we don't modernize, if we fail to modernize, if we're the last country building steam trains and we're not moving on to the next thing, we're going to be left in the dust. I don't want Ford and GM and all the others to become just small domestic companies. I don't think they would survive in that regard. I think they would lose their economies of scale, lose their ability to attract the best talent and develop meaningful products in the future. Well, yes, but I don't like those people. They're, if you met them, you'd like them. They're just people. They're just people.
Just folks, yeah.
And I'm not trying to be political in this. I'm just trying to address the policy aspect because there are good people and bad people in every party, in every industry, in every profession, in every hobby. Oh my gosh, I've met some people in model trains. I met a guy who spent months doing just the grass on the edges of the berms, and one of the other guys from the train club came in and said, "Nope, it's all wrong. Remove it."
So who was the bad person on that?
The guy who didn't step in 3 months earlier and set it up, but the whole just, what are you doing? This guy's given so much. Whatever. Model trains. Yes. You got to look out for the big model train. That's who we're really going after. Is the model train is some model train enthusiasts. Not even all of them. Just that one guy. And I won't even say what city he's in because it would become probably clear who it is I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But there are, it would be clear.
Yes, but to your original point, and that's, yes, I think what I was trying to say earlier, is if we're going to hold on to our position as the biggest GDP in the world, I just looked it up yesterday. We're still just about double China's GDP. If we're going to hang on to that level of difference with the rest of the world, you have to be at the bleeding edge of the technologies of the future. And there is absolutely no doubt in my mind, and I don't think anybody that thinks it through carefully has any doubt in their mind, that if you can go from a concentrated utility system to a distributed utility system, you can basically take everybody, almost everybody, off the grid at some point, or very close to off the grid at some point. Then that's going to be wealth building, and the country that has the most wealth wins. It's just the way it is.
Well, I had asked on X, would you support a candidate for any office at any level who doesn't support EVs? And a lot of people took my statement to mean, should we be giving people money to buy cars? And that's not what that means to me. To me, it means everything. It means, will you support permits for battery factories? Will you support permits for mineral extraction for critical elements for batteries? We have a real problem getting permits to get mines operational.
Right.
I'm not saying let's destroy the environment. I'm saying the permit has been filed. Can we review it? Can someone make a phone call and say, I know it's your job to review it. Could you review it? Could you determine? Just a yes or no would be great.
Yes.
Even if the answer is no, so we need support. Other things of national security get support. Oil and gas exploration is considered national security. It gets support.
Absolutely.
Nuclear research is considered national security. It gets support. Sometimes infrastructure does. It used to more in the past than it does now. That needs support. It all does. So, Randy, I appreciate you talking me back down from the ledge. It's a very narrow ledge, and but it's okay because my feet are very small. So,
good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. How much your hands?
Yeah. Giant. Very
Giant
large.
hands.
Very large. That's not even, I'm not even close to the camera. That's just how big they are.
I got it.
So, guys, head over to the Randy Kirk channel. See what he's up to. Who knows? Maybe he put out a video this week,
No.
or 20. So everybody else in the comments, what do we miss? What do we misunderstand? Let's not attack people. Let's discuss ideas. I don't want to hear crazy rants unless it's from Randy in person when I can push back. In the comments, what should we be doing? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And I don't mean we, Randy and I, we know what we're doing wrong. I mean, in terms of policy, let's not go after the people or the parties. Let's discuss the policies themselves. Everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things. Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots in the next one.